And what was it like for you on this side? In effect, being a lone parent for a year, what was that like?
I think it was a bit challenging, especially when it came to like school meetings. You know, you have to have a word with the teachers about the child's progress and all that. At something I kept thinking, this woman, is there a man around? Because there were a few challenges anyway with the kids and all that, but I kind of, I speak to my husband most days anyway, and if there's any kind of problem, we kind of discuss, and then we find a solution as to how we can move forward if there's anything big. And I also had what I used to use in terms of like, I wouldn't call it punishment, but with regards to the kids, was to make sure that if they didn't behave, that obviously they wouldn't get any money that week. So we were always on their best behavior when it came to things, because I felt that was important, because I didn't want to deal with that and deal with boys' challenges and all that as well. So it was a trying time, but we got through it by speaking, communicating, and I felt that actually helped.
Okay, awesome. So you found a way of incentivizing your children,
yes,
to behave appropriately. Okay. What about things like key events, like birthdays, wedding anniversaries, those sorts of times that you would normally have spent together? How did you manage?
I came to the UK about 4 times in that 1 year, and in fact it was my limited leave time that restricted. So I was here during Valentine's. I happened to be in the UK during Easter, and that coincided with my birthday. I don't think I was here during your birthday. No, I wasn't, but I arranged something and received something by post. Interestingly, I think your parents were here.
Yeah,
your parents were here, so the package arrived. I ordered it on the internet from Niger, and it arrived whilst her parents were here for her birthday. And then I think I came once in the summer before I returned in winter.
November. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
All
so
right.
I tried to come.
Yeah.
At
So you managed a few key events and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. What about children's birthdays? I mean, I don't know whether you have a tradition or pattern as a family of celebrating those.
Yeah, we do, but most birthdays, apart from key birthdays, we normally just go out for a meal, or the kids would obviously get their presents and everything. So, but that was arranged as such that they didn't actually miss out. The only thing was their dad wasn't there, but everything still carried on, as normal. And he'll call them in the morning of their birthday. And we had a good day.
Got their presents.
And they got their
cash.
As long as they get their presents, they're
so
fine.
Looking back, do you feel that you were still able to maintain the parental connection with your children while you were away?
I think so, but I can't say that it was the same. That it would be the same if I was there. So I think there was some difference.
Yeah.
But I think I was able to maintain some because they were a bit more grown up. It's easier than if they were younger children, when it would be more difficult. But no, I can't say it was the same, but I think I did. And we also managed a family holiday. We went to Florida, so we, as a family. I came from Nigeria, then we flew from the UK, so yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's talk about, the real issue that I'm sure is on the viewer's mind, which is, temptation. You're away from your wife in a country with lots of beautiful women. How do you manage that aspect of, while being away from your family?
I think partly by not putting I think the fact that I was with her parents helped, because obviously if I just disappeared over a whole weekend without telling what was what, there'd be also partly by trying not to put myself in that situation, and because I was in regular contact with her, reminding myself what the price of that could be, and I think God. I think God. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say God,
yeah,
can you break that down for us? Because God is huge. So when you say God, what did you mean? How did that play a part in the practical decisions or choices
me
you had to
being in
make?
Nigeria on my own, also I did a few things. Like I went through the whole Bible, so I did that. I read books, all of Pastor Shola's books that were coming out at the time. I read them. So I occupied my time with other things. I think reading the Bible, I had a lot of time for prayer like never before, early in the morning, late at night. So I think those things gave me some inner strength. And I was also determined that the trust that my wife had shown in allowing me to go, that I would not disappoint her and I would not abuse that trust.
So you had a focus for that time
focus,
that you were there. You had a plan for keeping yourself busy, so that you wouldn't be idle and open to temptation. But you were also concerned about maintaining the trust that had been built up with your wife, over the many years. So in terms of for you on this side, was it kind of plain sailing, or I trust my man, there will be no issues, or were there ever slight jitters like, I'm wondering?
I guess there would always be that thing at the back of your mind, but I just I just rested in the fact that I thought, we've been married for, as of then it was about 24, 25 years, and I felt that if I couldn't trust him, without me being there for a year, then what do we actually have? I guess also the timing of the marriage, probably if this had come up from maybe 0 to 5 years in our marriage, I probably wouldn't have let him go, because I don't think that time was enough time to actually build, that level of trust. So I think the fact that we'd been married for so long, and he knew me and he knew the kind of issues that I would, tolerate, or, issues I wouldn't fly up about, was a time that, that was probably the best time for him to go.
You flagged up something which is really important, actually, which is all about the season of your marriage. Because the reason why I decided to do this topic and this show is because increasingly more and more couples are living apart for different reasons, for a season, maybe for work or for study. Some marriages are able to survive it, some marriages don't. And oftentimes I think it's a season issue. When you're at the early years of your marriage, years 0 to 7, let's say, it's a very pressured time already, because you're trying to kind of find your feet as a couple. You're setting a foundation for the rest of your married life. There may be very, very young children there. So the dad who is away at that time, for example, might be missing a child talking for the first time, the child's first step. So really, really important and key events in family life. So I think what you said is actually really, really important, that there's some things that older marriages can get away with that younger marriages can't, and it's important that people keep that in mind. So being all those miles and miles away, how did you maintain intimacy as a couple? How did you remain close in that season?
I guess it was obviously when he came back 4 times, and during that time, that would probably be the only time we probably have any kind of intimate contact. And apart from that, we would just talk over the phone.
Well, we did a lot of Skyping
every day,
all that. As much as Nigeria 3G connection would allow us, but most days we Skyped at least one with a visual.
So you could see.
Okay, so you were talking daily.
Yeah.
That's really important, and you were making efforts.
And every morning on my way to work, or when shortly after I got to work, I would text her that I'm now at work and how are things. And so during the day, I'd also text her a few times. So we were in contact.
You were in regular contact. Yeah. Okay. So looking back now at the whole experience, would you say that it was on the whole a positive one for you as a family, as a couple?
Yeah, I think it was a positive one, because it just made us more aware of, appreciate each other more. Because obviously when he wasn't here, I had to take on a lot more of things around the house. And then obviously I missed that, sharing that, somebody else could do this rather than everything being on me. So I think I appreciated him. Well, I appreciate him, and I appreciated him more, during that time as well.
What about for you, Doc?
Yeah, I think I did enjoy my time in Nigeria, even though I was living like an expatriate in Nigeria, which is interesting on its own. But I was certainly glad to come back home. Yes, I was glad to come back home. I don't know. I don't know whether I'd do it again, though. I don't know if I had that opportunity. I don't like living apart from my family. So, whilst on one hand, I enjoyed it, on the other hand, I'd rather be at home.
And I think because he was out there on his own, I was like with the kids, you know, I always had kids around and all that, but
It was a bit
you were like
solitary,
kind of.
Okay. So if there are any key principles that you would share with other couples who are, you know, living apart for the meantime, what kind of tips would you give to them about protecting their marriage and staying close as a couple through that time? Now, for you guys, it was just a year. For some people, have been living apart for 2, 3, 4 years. And within that time, it's so easy for couples to drift apart, for relationships with other people to creep in, even if they are non-sexual, emotional relationships, maybe with work colleagues, which, you know, in the right temperature can easily become physical. So there's a real need when you're not living together as a couple to, you know, boundary your relationship. So I'm wondering whether you have any tips or lessons that you, from your experience, think couples need to keep in mind.
I think probably the first thing is to involve your spouse right from the onset, to get her buy-in into the whole thing. I must admit, if Tony had said, "Oh, I'm not feeling it," I wouldn't have gone. If she had said that, "Oh no, I don't want you to go, I don't think it's," then I wouldn't have gone. So I think that's important. I also think it's important to have a time span to it and to have a plan that involves how you're going to take care of the finances, how are you going to stay in contact with your children, and yeah, I think there's some of that. Don't know what you have to
And
say.
I think also, like you mentioned, you know, accountability, because we're out there in Nigeria, you have to be accountable to at least someone that cannot necessarily monitor you, but at least, you know, if things go pear-shaped or if things are going wrong, you can kind of, you know, gravitate towards, and, you know, they might guide and all that. And also, I think you should keep in regular contact. I think that is, you know, the most important, because there were times when you couldn't actually communicate because of poor, you know, technology and all that. And during that time, I always felt a bit kind of lost, because I just felt, what's it doing now? And, you know, that kind of thing. So communicating regularly is very important. And also to find out what stage of your marriage you're in. If you're in, it's like you said, 0 to 7, I think is a very crucial stage. A stage where you're actually building up your marriage. I don't think that's the time where you should have long periods of separation. Because, you know, during that time, you know, I don't think that things will work out that way. So I think it's just knowing exactly what works for you, and if you can both come together, you know, talk about it, you know, and move forward.
And as it's usually the man that does it, I think the person needs to schedule in regular visits home.
Yeah.
More than 1, 2 a year, regular. So whatever job he agrees to abroad, he needs to be able to agree a schedule that will involve regular visits back home.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think what I'm really hearing from you is that you prioritize your marriage. And I think oftentimes, especially for young couples, I'm also wondering whether that is because you've been married for such a long time. I know you've gone through ups and downs, so there's an appreciation of what it is that you have. Whereas with a younger couple, for example, where there is I know a lot of younger couples who the husband is living abroad. It might be because, he's being paid double what he'd be paid in the UK, or he's in a country where he doesn't have to pay tax. So there are all sorts of incentives and reasons why people choose to work abroad and live apart from their family. But I think from listening to you, what I hear, or what I pick up is that, you know, value is not only monetary. You know, and you realize that your marriage is valuable, and you can, while you reach out for financial resources, you can be trading something else. And I think that's a really important question as you wrap up, that, you know, when we make these decisions, we're trading one thing for the other. And it's important to keep in mind that what you are trading for is as valuable as what it is that you are leaving behind, namely your family, your marriage, and such like. So thank you for agreeing to my request, coming and being my special guest today and sharing from your experience.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Bimbo FOLA-ALADE. This is the Love Institute, the place where you learn to strengthen those key relationships.